Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fifth event of our 90 Days Around the World promotion. It has been a great week kicking off our 90 Days Around the World adventure. So tonight we are going to be going to California for a little wine tasting. We are so excited. Michael and David Phillips of the Michael David Winery were hoping to join us live tonight, but it's just such a busy time at the winery that unfortunately they won't be with us live, but they did record a great piece of content for us, a little virtual tour of the winery, plus a tasting of 4 great wines. So on the line tonight, we have Chad Gibson from our wine marketing team. Chad is a lover of Michael David Winery wines. He's going to talk to you a little bit about some of his favorites and what we have in store. And we have the fabulous Craig Pierce from the Martignetti team. Craig is an expert in Michael David Winery. I actually went live on Instagram a couple years ago as part of Wine Week with David Phillips, and Craig organized it. So he is very educated on this brand, and we are very lucky to have these two guys live with us tonight. You're going to love the tasting. You're going to love the little video that the Phillips brothers have put together. It's going to be a really great night. We're really excited for you to be here tonight for our first wine event as part of the 90 Days Around the World promotion. So, Craig, could you start us off maybe telling us a little bit about the winery and the history of Michael David wines?
Sure. First of all, thanks, Caroline, for having me on tonight, and Chad and the Liquor Commission. Michael David has been a great supporter of our market. Both the brothers have been here multiple times. They're located, for those of you that don't know, they're located in Lodi, California. They're fifth generation farmers. Mike was the first one in the family who went and got a degree in enology at UCal Davis, and they've been growing grapes forever, and they had been growing grapes forever and selling them. And Mike tasted some of the wines that were being made from the grapes when he was a young man, and the grapes that they sold, and he's like, you know what, we can do this. And so he went and learned what he could and came back and said, we're going to start making our own wine. They still grew grapes for a lot of people. And just went from there. I mean, these guys have a farm stand. Like I said, they're fifth generation, the sixth and seventh generation, Michael and David's kids. And now their grandkids are teens and old enough. They're actually working at the winery. So there's not too many in the United States where you can say there's a seventh generation starting to work in the wine business. That's not an uncommon story in Europe. It's less and less all the time, but it's pretty special here. So the thing I love about these guys is they know wine, they know what they're doing, but they're farmers at heart. The first time I met Mike, he was in the market. We did a wine dinner at the Bedford Village Inn. He was, now that I know him, I can say this, he was on his very best behavior, being very professional, great guy, putting his best foot forward. But he was actually, he did great at the dinner with the consumers, but he was a little stiff with us. And we went outside after the dinner, and they had started the ice bar, and the family that owns Bedford Village Inn at the time had a really great black lab, and the black lab was running around, and this dog like picked Mike out of the crowd and came over, and all of a sudden Mike's rolling around on the ground playing with this dog. Mike was probably 60 years old at the time, and I'm like, there it is, there's the real Mike. And ever since then, that's been my experience with him. So when you see the opening, when Mike says cheers, and it cuts over to his brother David, you'll see that literally is a farm stand, and now it's a tasting room, and you'll see they've been very, very successful. But the wines are unapologetic. They're big. They want to grab your tongue and say, okay, I'm in charge now. And they do. They're delicious. They're dark. If you have these wines in front of you tonight, you may want to get up and go get your toothbrush ready, because you are going to have stained teeth halfway through this on the second wine. But thank you so much for giving us part of your Friday night and letting us kick your weekend off. And I'm really excited about this video. I have 1,000,001 Mike Phillips stories and David Phillips stories, and I can even tell a few of them in public. So please ask your questions. Carolyn, take it
That was
from there.
awesome. Thank you, Craig. So now that Craig has given us a little bit of a background, I am going to go ahead and play this awesome video for you. I do just want to mention that when we're all done with tonight's episode, I do have a bowl of bolognese and some Freak Show waiting for me. So this brand is great. I love Freak Show, is one of my favorite wines. So just wanted to make sure everybody on the line knew that I am sort of tasting along later on tonight. So let me just pull up this video for you and we will get it playing. Mike and David do a quick tour of the property, and then they are also going to, Dave, excuse me, goes through the tasting. And then any questions you have about the wines, we have Chad and Craig here to talk through them with you. So just 1 second.
Hi, Mike Phillips here, founder and co-owner of Michael David Winery. I'm here just to say hello and thank you for enjoying our wines from Michael David. I know my brother's going to be there doing the tasting with you. I just wanted to cheers and thanks for your support.
Hello, New Hampshire. Welcome to Michael David Winery in beautiful Lodi, California. I'm Dave Phillips, half of the Michael David team with my brother, Michael. We're so happy to have you all here enjoying our wines, and hopefully you'll come visit us as soon as you can at some point. We've got our drive-through operation going here since we're closed inside. Our customers have been very supportive, selling all kinds of wine, and thank you to everybody out there that's been enjoying our wines at home, in New Hampshire. But we appreciate that support, and we're gonna get through this thing and keep on going, making great wine. Come out to our beautiful gardens where we're open for tasting daily, outside, COVID safe. Set up for distance tastings and pods where your family and group could be together, isolated, but still have a nice tasting experience outside. We're open for breakfast and lunch now also, in our outdoor tented dining room. Beautiful gardens, you come out and enjoy, bring the kids, lots of room to run around. And make a reservation with us. You have your own private lounge area around our gardens, around our pond. Get a great wood-fired pizza and enjoy some Michael David wine. Had a great growing season here in Lodi. We finished harvest about 10 days ago. Despite the fires and the smoke, we came out okay. The wines are looking good. They're in the fermenters now, and everything's looking like we're gonna be okay this year. As bad as 2020 was, we're gonna get through it just fine. Entering through our beautiful gardens, you can pick your own flowers out here. Get your own private tasting area by the pond. Enjoy a nice bottle of wine, a wood-fired pizza, or a hamburger made with locally raised beef by FFA 4-H kids. Another gorgeous day in Lodi. A slight breeze out of the west. The reason why Lodi is such a great place to grow grapes is because we get this breeze off of San Francisco Bay every day during the season. Hot days, cool nights. We're only about 65 miles from San Francisco Bay here, where Lodi is. pick flower garden over here. You know, we've been, you know, my brother and I are 5th generation farmers here in Lodi. So been farming this land since 1865. Our family has, and we're now into the 6th and 7th generations too. So that's part of our goal at Michael David, is to keep passing this land and this amazing fertile agriculture down to our children. It's really a blessing to have such great soil, water, climate, that we can grow almost anything here. So let's get to the fun part. Let's go taste some wines. All right, New Hampshire, we ready to taste some wine? With me today is our winemaker for these beautiful wines, Derek DeVries, and going to start off with our Freak Show Cabernet. So tell us about it, Derek.
Freak Show Cabernet comes out of Lodi, California, and it's 100% barrel aged. The label's really fun, and every year it keeps growing in sales, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Doing a good job out there selling it.
Yeah, thanks. Double-digit growth year after year on this wine. So, and even
Really
with,
nice.
yeah, even with big volumes, Derek makes it perfect every year.
You want to talk a little bit about the label, Dave?
Well, the label was inspired, to, thinking outside the box a little bit. You know, Michael David Winery likes to be a little different. Want to show that wine's fun. Nothing to be scared of, and just great fun all around. You know, those are real circus freaks from the late 1800s, early 1900s on there, and freak show, party in a bottle.
Yeah.
Nice oak on the nose.
Yeah. This wine's really in balance. You know, it's got a really nice finish to it. Some blueberry notes.
Yeah. And whatever. Yes. And being Lodi fruit, it's not overly tannic. It's ready to drink the day you buy it. But what people always say about this is they love taking a bottle of Freak Show to a party because it's a wine that everyone can like. Delish. And then going up a notch in the Cabernet world here, Earthquake.
Now the Earthquake label is getting a revamp, is it?
It is. The next vintage will be a new look. But Earthquake is meant to be big, bold, higher alcohol. No excuses. We like the grapes ripe, and it tastes great that way. So, tell us what you do special with this one, Derek.
So the difference between this Cabernet and the Freak Show Cabernet is with the new barrels that we buy every year, this gets the select 100% new French oak, blended back with a little bit of, I'd say 40% older French oak barrels. But the new French oak barrels that we do buy go directly towards the Earthquake Cab.
Yeah, really nice vanilla from that French oak. It's beautiful, integrated perfectly into the wine.
It's definitely more oak barrel focus to it.
Yep, yeah, a little more complex. Spends more time in barrel than the Freak Show, right? Yeah. And, your supplier of the oak you get from France is top-notch barrels.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thanks for letting us buy.
How many barrels do we have in our barrel room? Like
30,000.
30,000
plus.
Yeah. That's a big job.
Yeah.
Yum. All right. So what's next?
Here, I'll let you reach
Petite,
all the way across.
petite.
85% Petite Syrah, 15% Petite Verdot. And
So 2 of the darkest grapes grown in our vineyards.
Yeah, and typically in Lodi appellation, Petit Syrah and Petit Verdot are used as blending wines, and they're really fun to put together as a blend. And the elephants and everything going on with this label, this was really one of the first labels that we produced that was really busy, right?
Really, really loud and out there, but it shows up on a shelf.
Oh, it sure does. And this is about 80% French oak and 20% American oak barrel. So I like to twist it up with this one, use a little bit of American oak along with the French oak.
It's a super dark color. A real tooth stainer.
Yeah, and this is the 2018 vintage, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always hard to find on here. And you know, side note, I'm putting together the 2019 vintage right now. That's going to go to bottle in early 2021.
All right. Hopefully you're all following along. Hopefully you have some of these wines in front of you to taste. We're going to finish today with a quintessential Lodi Zinfandel. Maybe you all know that Lodi is the Zinfandel capital of the world. We have more old vine Zin here than any place else in the world.
Yeah, and this is the 2017 Earthquake Zin.
Completely different oak profile than other wines.
Yeah, so it gets aged in 100% American oak, and the degree of the barrels, how new the barrels are varies. So again, all the new oak barrels that we get, we put in this lineup, and then it's also blended in with older second use American oak barrels.
Really spicy. That American oak gives it this spiciness. It's funny, you know, Zinfandel just seems to marry better with American oak in general.
Yeah.
Spicy grape, nice spice wrap from the American oak, mostly Missouri oak, state of Missouri.
State of Missouri.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
A little bit of Petit Syrah and a little bit of Petit Verdot blended in this.
That'll keep you warm on a cold New Hampshire night.
Yeah, the label says 15.5% alcohol.
Yeah.
But that's pushing, it's pushing all of 15.9.
That's the whole point of Earthquake, though, is to go big.
Go big.
Thanks for joining us in Lodi. Sorry to tease you with our beautiful weather. It's another gorgeous day in Lodi, but like I said, a few of these wines in your household will warm you up this winter. So, cheers.
Cheers, Dave.
So they just joked about beautiful weather. Can we just take a second to talk about the beautiful weather we've been having in New Hampshire this week? I thought it was supposed to be November, and I was practically sunning myself today doing yard work. So I hope you all enjoyed that. It looks like we've got a couple of questions. We got a few questions on Zoom while the video was playing. We got a few on social as well. So I'd like to kick things off with those couple of questions. So we got quite a few comments about the glow-in-the-dark bottles. So this is kind of a multi-part question that I'm going to send over to Chad and to Craig. How long will the glow-in-the-dark bottles be available? Are they still available at the New Hampshire Liquor and Wine outlets? And how much are they?
The glow-in-the-dark bottles they're the same price as what the normal product would be. They're available for the 2018 vintage, which I believe is currently in stores now. So stores should definitely still have them. Craig could probably answer who has them specifically already, but I'm pretty sure it's widely distributed at this point in all of our stores for the 2018 vintage.
Yeah, so the right now, the timing of this is great with the 90 days around the world, because we're in a quarterly super saver with the 4 wines that David and Derek just walked you through. So those 4 wines that they just went through are between $7 and $9 off each right now, including the Freak Show Cab. And if you go into your favorite NHLC liquor store, they should be on display, and the Freak Show labels should be there. So there's great distribution on these wines with the quarterly super saver. That $7 to $9 savings between the 4 wines, that'll be good through the end of the year.
Awesome. That's a great sale.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it looks like Timothy from the winery has also joined us here on Zoom. And he was actually answering some of your questions while the video was playing. So
Oh, great.
I'm going to go through a couple of those as well, just to make sure in case anybody else was curious, you have the answers too. So someone asked, has the Lodi region experienced any terroir impact with the wildfires? And as you heard in the video, there was some smoke, but the vintage is doing well. And so Timothy also mentioned that there was a little bit of smoke in Lodi, but nothing that impacts the wines in any significant way. So your favorite freak show, or I'm sorry, my favorite freak show will be back, or it'll continue to be available. Let's see, somebody else on social said, we heard what Carol Ann likes. What are Chad and Craig's favorites? And I know that Chad has a great story about his favorite Michael David wine. So I would like to send the conversation over to Chad to tell us that story.
So when I first started my wine journey, everybody remembers those specific bottles of wine that kind of opened up the world of wine for them. And I specifically remember I started drinking a lot of French wines and started getting into Syrah, and then I discovered Petit Petit, and I was drinking it, and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And then a few years later, a friend of mine, we decided to really kind of deep dive into the world of wine. And I remember specifically we would go out every Thursday night because it was happy hour and it was discounted glasses of wine. And we tried hundreds of different wines over time. And I remember seeing Ink Block Cab Franc on the menu, and I went, well, I love the Petit Petit, and you know what, I'm going to try it. I've never had a Cabernet Franc before, and I'm just really, really curious. And there was something about that specific bottle of wine that just kind of opened my eyes to other varietals that I wasn't used to. And I still remember to this day, literally the next day I went into the store and bought a case, and I was like, I can't believe this wine. And it ended up becoming one of my all-time favorite bottles of wine, and it still is to this day. It was just something about the bold black cherry flavors with the earthy undertones, and it was just a in-your-face bottle of wine that was unapologetic, and it was, this is what I am, and you either like me or you don't. And I absolutely fell in love with the bottle of wine, and it's been one of my favorites literally ever since.
What about you, Craig? What's your favorite?
Well, you can tell by looking at me, I'm pretty picky. These wines, it's a thumbprint that they have across the reds, for all of their brawn in the reds. That the winery actually makes some really delicate, really deftly made, really interesting whites too, which is great. It's a wonderful yin and yang. I mean, they're about red wine, that's what they do, but it's almost as if the whites, it's like, well, we are showing you that we can do other things too, and they're really super interesting, and they're really light, and they're extremely well made. So it's hard for me to say. I'm a ABC guy, anything but Chardonnay. But and I used to love Chardonnay, but I overdid it. And so when I drink Chardonnay now, it's going to be French, and it's going to be very little oak on it. but I will tell you that reserve level Chardonnay that these guys make, I could drink glass after glass after glass. So they're the breadth of their portfolio and their abilities are stunning. They really are, and approachable. It's like David said. It's like we make wine that when you get it off the shelf and you yank the cork, you can drink it and it's ready to go. That's what we do, and they're fantastic at that. Chad and I have a little bit of a history. I'm the assistant vice president of sales for Martignetti here now. But I started my career dragging the bag and being on the street as a salesperson. And I used to call on Chad's stores, the various stores that he worked in. And I remember one day walking in to the store he was at the time, and he looked at me and he's like, "Oh," he didn't even say hi. He's like, "Oh, there's some ink blot up in Concord and there's some down in Nashua. Can you just transfer it here so I can buy it, please?" True story. And Chad, what was that, like 9 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, it was the 2013 vintage or the 2012 vintage of.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago. It was only like 5 years ago. It was 2013. But it just the way they approach everything. The only time I've been to Lodi to visit them, I've seen them here many times. The only time I went to Lodi to visit them on their turf, one of the things that Mike did with us first, the little group that was there, is he took us over to this 115-year-old Carignan vineyard that he didn't even own, but had kind of gone to weed. The owner had passed away and the wife still owned it, and she was selling the fruit from it and he was buying it. And he kind of said to her one day, "Can we come in and like prune when we have extra time and just kind of rehab this vineyard?" And I don't know for sure. I think they were able to prove it's the oldest Carignan vineyard in the country. It's 115 years old. And one of the first things Mike Phillips did was bring us to a vineyard he didn't own, because he's a farmer and he loves that stuff. So they're just such a great family. They're just their approach to everything. They used to be growers, right? And grow grapes for other wineries. And that's what got Mike into making their own wine. And so now with their success, they're buying grapes from other growers, and they're very intricately and intimately involved in the growing practices of those other growers that they're buying the fruit from. So when they get fruit during the harvest, they make the wines and they keep it separate and then blend it together later. But they take those wines and they have a contest where all the growers come to the winery and they taste the individual wines that they used in the blends. And it's all triple blind. And the growers themselves decide on the best wine. They go through stages with it. And the family that grew the best grapes that made the best wine gets a $25,000 bonus. And it's all peer selected, and nobody knows what they're drinking when they taste it and whose wine it is. So it creates a camaraderie, it creates competition. They're more interested in the award for their house than they are the 25 grand. Oh, I don't know. That's what Mike says. I think they want 25 grand too, but then they all have a giant pig roast afterwards. And it's just, it's what the wine world should be. Family, camaraderie, looking out for each other and making something really great that gives you that rosy cheek look at the end of the day. I know you're all at home, but drink responsibly.
Yes, for those of you tasting along, we do hope that those of you on the line are tasting along with us. Maybe you don't have all 4 wines, but maybe you have one. Please drink responsibly. Please always drink responsibly, not just when you're at an online virtual tasting. Always drink responsibly. So let's see here. Question from social. David mentioned that these wines, or at least one of these wines, is a bit of a tooth stainer. Chad and Craig, do you see any negatives to somebody drinking one of these wines through a straw to avoid that?
You can drink the wines through a straw. It will have an interesting effect. I probably wouldn't recommend it for a long term, but you can drink them through a straw. There's nothing wrong with that, but they are meant to be enjoyed in a glass, so you can get the aromas of when you're drinking it. It does make a very large difference in the flavor profile. When you are tasting, you do want to have it so your nose is exposed to it, because it does influence your taste a lot. It really does.
So
Okay.
just tasting 101, that's a great question. I'm not going to claim I never drank wine through a straw. I will tell you that 50% of your sense of taste comes from your sense of smell. So if you shut that down, while it may still taste very good to you through the straw, you're missing a lot of fun things when you do that. Just like I said at the beginning, just get a toothbrush and be ready. Don't try to avoid the, just embrace the teeth staining, and you'll probably like it a lot better.
Let's see, we've got a couple of people left comments about how much they love the label of the Petite. And I actually know that Craig has a great little story that he could tell us about that label. So I think it's perfect that you guys on Facebook are loving it, because this is a really cool story.
So Mike, when they launched this wine, Mike told us that he was in the winery one day in the office, and the phone started ringing. There was no one there to answer the phone, and Mike's a farmer. Mike's great with people. He's great with animals. He's a good businessman. He likes making money, but the tedious parts of business he'd like to stay away from, because he wants to do those other things. So the phone's ringing and ringing and ringing, and there's no one to answer it. And against every impulse in his body, he answered the phone, and it was someone from the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, which we call the TTB now. And the TTB has to sign off on every single label. So, and it's a laborious process, and it's government, and they can be difficult. And most of you probably don't know this, but you can't name a wine after the varietal. So you can't just put Cabernet on a label and say, this is my wine, and trademark it and copyright it, because you're not allowed to do that. That's one of the rules. So it's Petite Sirah, Petite Verdot, and it's called Petite with an E, and then Petite without an E. So it's someone from the TTB, and they're like, we need to talk to someone about the label you submitted for this Petite Sirah and Petite Verdot blend. And he's like, well, I'm the founder and owner. Why don't you ask me? And they're like, well, you can't name the wine after the varietal. It's not allowed. And he says, well, I didn't name it after the varietal. I named it Petite. There's no wine, there's no varietal called Petite. Petite's part of a name, but I didn't do that. We didn't do that. That's not what we're doing. And I guess the guy was giving him a really hard time, and finally said, well, Mr. Phillips, why not, where did you get the name? And he goes, well, do you have the label in front of you? So, yeah. He goes, it's the name of the elephant. One's a male and one's a female. Petite with an E in French is female. Petite without an E is male. Like, duh. And the guy's like, oh, I'll make a note. And the label went through, and Mike, when Mike tells the story, it's hilarious, but he's like, I have no idea where that came from. It just came out of my mouth, but it worked. Who cares?
I think that is just such a great story. And I mean, these Michael David wines are amazing, and their labels are great. Like, they're just so pretty. Like, you want to keep the empty bottle after and put it on display. So we've got a few more questions. Tracy would like to know, what other fruits are recognized in the wines besides blueberries? Are there any peaches, plums, cherry notes? Tracy, I I'm guessing you meant about the 4 wines that were tasted. So we're going to go with that. If you want to clarify anything, just go ahead and let us know.
Yeah, do you want me to take that?
I can take it if you like. So depending on the wine, obviously, different varietals are going to have different tasting profiles. For the Zinfandel, you are going to get a lot of like cherry and jammy notes, plum. There's also spice and peppery bite to it. It does have like a herbaceous note on the back end of it. So you are tasting more than just fruit on the wine. It does have other things. The Cabernet also, it's, you have a lot of cherry, there's berries, but there's also mocha, dates. There's toasted oak on it, which kind of like balances out a little bit, and it does have a little bit of a spice. So you're not just tasting fruit, you are also tasting other notes, and you kind of pick up those little hints of vanilla and spices and the peppery bite and darker fruits. For the Petit, it is very fruit forward. It's a lot of raspberry, dark fruits, fig. You do get a lot of black cherry on it, which is kind of the predominant flavor of it. And it does have a little bit of a strange cola flavor to it. So there are things other than the fruits that you're tasting. It's kind of like the little sublayers on them. There are primary flavors that you get out of them, which kind of drive them. Usually cherry is the most bold, which is the first one that everybody says like, oh, I taste black cherry or red cherry or Bing cherry on it, because it is kind of the predominant one. And then there's other nuances that you pick up. The Cabernet, the Freak Show Cabernet, very red cherry forward, a little bit of strawberry, hints of spice, bright red fruits, a little bit of toasted hazelnut, a little bit of clove, like that's that spice flavor. So each one does have complete different flavor profiles on them, and it is different fruit that you are tasting on it.
Great. Thank you, Chad. So a couple people have also asked about the code word for tonight. So I think I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about our passport program before I announce what the code word is for tonight. Excuse me. So tonight's wine tasting is part of our 90 Days Around the World series. So you can go to 90daysaroundtheworld.com to find out how to play our virtual passport program, to find out all of the different events that we're going to be hosting, and what the prizes are going to be for if you do play along with the passport program. So part of the passport program is every event that you watch is going to have a code word. Tonight's code word is a word that you may have heard quite a few times tonight. It's Lodi, Lodi, which is where the Michael David wines are made. So if you'd like to learn how to play along, if you're not already, you just go to the site, click how to play, and it will walk you through how to get the Passport app onto your phone. If you played along with our Summer Fun Tour scavenger hunt, it's actually the same app. So if you already have the app, you can just find our other adventure there. As far as prizes go, we are giving away at the end of the promotion, so sometime towards the end of January, beginning of February, we're giving away an ultimate home bar. So we're giving a gigantic gift card to our stores so you can create your own home bar with everything you would possibly need. So I think while we have Chad and Craig on the line, I would love to hear what you guys think makes the perfect home bar. If somebody on the line tonight is to win that prize, what are a couple of must-have items that you think they need to get with their gift cards?
Personally, for me, I like to have a variety of different items. There are some core items that I would obviously prefer, kind of the staples, Napa Cabernet, a champagne, but I do like to think a little bit outside of the box. I do like to have, like, for example, an Ink Block Cabernet Franc. And I do and I do like to kind of dip into the spirits too, a really nice cognac or a whiskey. I know personally our spirits buyer, his favorite wine is a decanted bottle of Earthquake Cabernet Sauvignon. So, I mean, I think it's really variety is what you're looking for. And there's no wrong or right answer for it. It's kind of preference, but I do think you have to look at all of the possibilities. And there's just so much out there that you can really explore with it that it's a really, really big world of wine and spirits. And I think there's a lot of possibilities that are out there for it.
What about you, Craig? What would you add to the perfect home bar?
So I'm gonna go talk about the spirit side for a second, because Chad just told everybody that the spirits buyer for the state drinks Michael David. I think the one can't do without item for a bar is Cointreau liqueur, orange liqueur. You can enhance so many different drinks with it. It's actually really good on its own. It's a 80 proof bitter orange peel infused neutral spirit, and you have to have it. It's a must have. The wines that we talked about tonight, I joke with people, one of the great things about Michael David is they offer you different price points. So, the earthquakes are what I keep on hand for us to drink and friends that I like. And then I have wines from other producers that are less than half the price for when my in-laws are over. So those are the kinds of things that I make my decisions based on.
Awesome. Somebody would like to know, does Michael David offer any port wines? I think that's a no, right, guys?
Not that I am quite sure. At the tasting room, there's all kinds of little projects going on that would be a surprise to all of us. I would not be shocked to find that out, but as far as in the open market, no.
So unfortunately at our stores, no Michael David ports, but when we can travel again, we'll take everybody from the tasting tonight. We'll all go to California. We will taste in the tasting room. We'll see the beautiful gardens. We'll pick our own flowers. It'll be great.
One of the things they're famous for, as far as the farm stand's concerned, is these incredible fruit pies that are like this big. They're amazing, and you can actually buy them online frozen. It's just a multifaceted, very green operation. Lots of fun stuff. If you're ever out there, you have to go.
Craig, do you know if those pies can be shipped? Thanksgiving is coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. We've just got one last question before we wrap it up. So Lisa would like to know the difference between Lust, Rage. Rage is one of her favorite wines, and she hasn't tried the others, so she's curious about the difference. But for some reason, my Zoom is kind of blurring her question. So Lisa, I apologize that I can't read your whole question. But Rage is one of her favorite wines. And what is the difference between Rage, Lust, and it looks like two others that are cut off? Sorry about that, Lisa.
Those are the reserve level wines that Michael David makes, and it's just the best of the best fruit for whatever varietal it is. It's just their top line offering. So look at the grape composition on each one, and by varietal, but it's the pinnacle of what they offer. We get it only as small allocations in the state. We get a decent amount of them, but they're fleeting. They're here and then they're gone because we just don't get a ton of them. Great question. That's deep. Someone's drilling down. Someone's a roadie, groupie for sure. It's asking that question. That's great.
Lisa, if you want to follow up and send us a direct message on Facebook with maybe your full question, I can make sure that we got you the best answer, and I can have Chad tell me if any of those products are currently available in stores and where they're available if you want to get your hands on some now.
Yeah, Carolyn, just push that straight to me and we'll sort it out.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining in tonight. We had some great questions. I really appreciate the Phillips brothers making that video for us. They were really upset that they couldn't join us live tonight, but they definitely put on a great little show for us. For anybody who didn't hear before, tonight's code word is Lodi. Make sure you enter that into your app to get some points for tonight's event towards winning the ultimate home bar. If we have any football fans on the line, we hope you'll join us on Monday for Monday night football and vodka tasting with V1 Vodka and Thai Law. So that's going to be another fun event. We've got a few other events next week as well. So check our Facebook page or the website so you can register in advance. And thank you so much to everybody for joining. We really appreciate your time. We hope you have a great weekend, and we hope you enjoyed tasting along with us. It looks like at least a handful of you were tasting along and enjoying great Friday night with us here virtually. So have a great weekend. Oh, Timothy from the winery just left a comment. He wants you all to know that Michael David says hello and happy and safe sipping.
Thanks,
So,
Tim.
so
Everyone,
again,
thanks for letting us kick your weekend off.
yeah, happy Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Caroline.
Bye.